What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to launch the first video in a series of videos that I'm going to be doing looking at the 80s and 90s action stars, the top 4 in fact. Now I'm going to do Arnold Schwarzenegger today. I had a feeling he would be on everybody's top 4 list, or he should be at least. So, and I have an idea of most of the other ones too, but I want everybody's opinion. So comment down below, let me know what other 3 action stars from the 80s and 90s only. We're not looking into the 2000s, mainly where their peak was the 80s and 90s. And I want to see who is the king of that era. So I'm going to do 4 individual videos with 4 individual action stars, and then I'll bring them together and do one video where we kind of rank them against each other, and hopefully we can crown a king of the early era action star. You know, that's what we'll call it. So, but anyway, let's get this list started with number 10. Now, number 10 goes a little against type for Arnold. Now, we did come to find out that he is quite the comedic actor, but in Jingle All the Way, he plays a lovable dad who continues to mess up and can never do anything right. You know, we see this archetype all the time. And this one forgets to get the Turbo Man doll for Christmas. So we follow Arnold as Howard, and he goes all over town searching for this Turbo Man doll for his son Jamie, played by little Anakin Skywalker here, who has not yet crossed over to the dark side. Anyway, Howard continues to run into his nemesis throughout this film, Myron, played by the brilliant Sinbad. Now, I'd be remiss to say that this movie would be nothing that it is without Sinbad. This is by no means a vehicle only of Arnold. He's a part of this recipe, but it takes Sinbad and actually Phil Hartman as the neighbor Ted. Really rounds out the trifecta of these guys that just have this crazy dynamic with one another. And then you throw Rita Wilson in as Liz, who's just as charming as ever, and she does great with all these people, including she even has a moment where she stands up for herself, which I've always found to be great. She didn't need Howard to come save her from creepy neighbor Ted. She took matters into her own hands. So I always had respect for Liz as that character. Definitely not the damsel in distress. And I'm a big fan of the ending of this movie. I don't care. I love the parade. I love when Arnold puts on the Turbo Man outfit, flies around, saves the day. The guitar riffs. It's all great stuff. And it makes my number 10 best Arnold Schwarzenegger movies of all time.
Where's your Christmas spirit? That's better.
Now, number 9, we're going to move on to Conan the Barbarian. Now, I've seen this movie probably a half dozen times. It's not something that I rewatch frequently, but when I want to see Arnold pre-CGI, pre-Terminator, when he's really trying to find himself, this was his first real major like blockbuster movie. He got to star opposite James Earl Jones. He had never done anything like that. Obviously, he was out of his league in that moment, but we saw the promise. We saw what he could do. He could carry the film. He could be the leading man. And I like to throw this movie in every once in a while. It has great sword fights, great costumes, great scenes. Again, this is all pre-CGI, so they were out there really doing this stuff. And I respect the filmmakers for going out there and making a really fun, classic action film. So number 9, respect to Conan the Barbarian. Number 8, we're going to get into one of his more classic roles. We're going to talk about Commando. Now, he plays a retired military officer, special forces, the works. You know, he's bad motherfucker. And these fools come and take his daughter. And it's not one of those movies where he's an underdog. It's not one of those movies where he faces insurmountable odds. You never really feel like he's going to lose. It's just fun to watch him walk through all these people and handle business. It's about an hour and a half of Arnold just kicking the shit out of a bunch of dudes, and I'm here for it. Number 8, all day. I've watched this movie dozens of times, Commando. It's always a good watch. He has some of his best one-liners in this movie.
Wrong. Fuck you. I'll be back, Benny. You're a funny guy, Sally. I like you. That's why I'm going to kill you last. Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
Fuck you, asshole.
Fuck you, asshole.
What's your arm, John?
Come over and find out.
No, thanks.
Come on, Bennett. Let's party. Let off some steam, Bennett.
Leave anything for us?
Just bodies.
I gotta give respect to Commando. Again, it's not a super deep movie, so it can't get too high on the list. This list is, who's a top heavy, and that's not to say that Arnold's a bad actor. We're talking about good movies here, but obviously if you're familiar with his filmography, you know that he is in some of the greatest movies of all time, not just his movies. So anyway, we're saying number 8, Commando. Moving on. Number 7, we're back to the comedy. Again, Arnold has always been sort of an underrated comedic actor. He has great timing and just his size. His size invites so many jokes and so many fun foils. Like the entire movie of Twins is based off of it. It's not in my top 10, but it will be an honorable mention. Twins, a hilarious movie, simply based on the size disparity between those two individuals. So you put Arnold in a classroom with a bunch of 5- and 6-year-old kindergartners, like, I mean, the jokes write themselves. There's so many great moments, so many great quotes that I still use to this day. But the movie has a lot of heart, too. It's fun to watch him transform from this really hard-nosed cop that wants to just do nothing but get the bad guy. He starts to fall in love with these kids, and the one kid in particular, and the family and the mother, and he wants to protect them. And it gives you just enough action so that the action junkies don't completely fall asleep, but there's an awful lot of heart here, and it's good family fun, and you don't normally get to say that with the Arnold movies. So, yeah, number 7, back to the comedy, Kindergarten Cop.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Thanks for the tip.
All right, and at number 6, it's still, in my mind, a comedy, but we're definitely swaying more into the action comedy genre here, which is where I think Arnold thrives. And this is Last Action Hero. Now, this is one of my personal favorite Arnold movies. If it was just me ranking these based off of my favorites, it might be even higher. I'm trying to be a little bit aware of how impactful some of the other movies at the top of the list are. So, but I adore this movie. I mean, I am Danny. Me as a kid, I was that little boy that wanted to be in the movie, that wanted to help save the day. So to watch him get to live out that fantasy, so many great actors. You got freaking Tywin Lannister with one eye, freaking blowing people's heads off. You got Crazy Dude with axe flinging it all over the place. I mean, Dracula. You got some of the best villains pop in because it's a movie, so it allows them to be super creative, but it also justifies all the ridiculousness that happens in the first half of this movie. And then when they leave the film, you get the reality of what the real world is like. And I think it's a wonderful tonal shift. Some people might think it's jarring. I like it. I think it works. And number 6, again, one of my favorite Arnold films, Last Action Hero. I think it's severely underrated. At number 5, we obviously have to start talking about some of these iconic movies. Number 5, Total Recall. We're not even talking greatest Arnold movies anymore. We're talking greatest sci-fi movies. Total Recall has it all. I mean, talk about a man who goes to recall to have a memory implanted in his brain so he can relax. Come to find out he's a spy who had his mind wiped. Or is he? Is Sharon Stone really a spy? Is she really his wife? You don't know, and that's the wonderful thing about the movie is I've heard a million different interpretations, but there's so many twists and turns, and I'm not going to talk about it because if you haven't seen it, if you've only seen the remake, go watch the original. If you haven't seen any of them, watch either of them, but I would recommend going back and watching the original. It's, again, mostly practical. This is before CGI was really blowing up. I do believe there are some effects in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. But most of it, some of the iconic moments are practically done. So definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Number 5, iconic Total Recall. All right, now we're getting into some heavy hitters, and I might lose somebody here, but I really don't care. Number 4 is True Lies. Now you throw Cameron and Schwarzenegger back together, and it's a recipe for success, in my opinion. I love this movie. I love Harry. I love all the side characters, Tom Arnold's character, Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh my God, I'm not even gonna talk about the dance number. Ooh, but she's hilarious in this movie. Like she brings it. It's not like she's just phoning this in. As again, this is not another Arnold vehicle. This is a collective group of people, including the director, who bring their flair to it. And I just love everything about it. There are only a handful of James Bond movies that I would pick over this. Other than that, this is like my favorite spy movie. So I love True Lies. I watch this movie all the time. I wore it out as a kid and I still watch it to this day. I own the VHS and I put it in frequently. I love this movie. All right, top 3, guys. Top 3. This is where it started to get difficult. The top spot was pretty solidified, but 2, 3, 4 were definitely up for debate. 4's True Lies. 3, we're going to go with the original Terminator. Now, this is probably the movie that made Arnold a bona fide, solidified A-list action star. He came out and rocked everybody's world. The presence, it was terrifying. This movie's not just action; it's horror. I don't think anybody can deny that. I think that some of the chase scenes, the stop motion stuff with the skeleton, it's terrifying. It's creepy. It's janky and it works. Arnold's inability to speak great English worked to the unfamiliar eeriness of the Terminator. So they created the perfect movie villain. He will not stop. He will not sleep. There's no bargaining with him. I mean, Reese had that iconic speech, and it's a perfect film for me. If not for the greatness of the second, this would be the greatest sci-fi film of all time. I think that Terminator is perfection. Number 2 is going to be the original Predator. The plot's kind of shallow. I mean, guys go into jungle, monster in jungle. Obviously, we're not here to win any Academy Awards, but we're here to watch a big giant Arnold fight a big giant monster predator thing. And if you're lucky enough to go into this movie and not know what it's about, and then you get kind of dangled along a little bit and you see the infrared and you see the stuff happening, but you don't know that there's a giant beast out there doing this, the reveal had to be impactful. But for me, I knew what I was getting into. I'm watching a bunch of juiced up, oily men blow people's heads off and then do battle with a giant beast. And he ends up picking them off one by one, as you would imagine, and then there's the showdown at the end, and it all delivers. I mean, it's another perfect action movie. What more can you say? I mean, take it away, Arnold.
You one ugly motherfucker.
All right, guys, but the top spot, it's T2. It's Terminator 2. It's the greatest sequel sci-fi Arnold movie of all time. I mean, come on, guys. Like, I've said perfect a lot, and Arnold has been fortunate to be in some of the best movies of all time, at least in the action sci-fi genre. But I don't think anybody can deny how amazing Terminator 2 is as a film from top to bottom. I mean, it took everything great about the first one, and it escalated. You take the villain, you make him the hero, you bring an even more badass villain that they have to fight. The movie is a 2-hour plus chase. I mean, you never have any time to breathe. From the moment that we're introduced to those characters and we're introduced to the stakes of what's going on, I mean, it's on. It's on. The movie's on. The T-1000 is coming, and he's gonna do everything he can to get John Connor. And thank God, old John sent the Terminator back, because they would have been sliced and diced if not. So, Terminator 2 is a masterpiece, and it is absolutely, unequivocally Arnold Schwarzenegger's #1 overall film. Now, this, again, I tried to be objective, but obviously I had my personal bias in here. Comment down below and let me know what you think. There's definitely some movies I missed. You have to give, I said Twins. Twins is a movie based off a very simple principle. Big guy, small guy, funny, but there's, at its core, it has a lot of heart. Arnold showed that he could be funny. He had great comedic timing.
What the hell did you do to him, man? I did nothing. The pavement was his enemy.
Pumping Iron. It wasn't really I mean, it is a film. It's a documentary, and was our first introduction to Arnold and bodybuilding, and it's kind of how I saw Arnold for the first time, was in Pumping Iron. So, honorable mention there. Terminator 3. Is it great? No, but now that we've seen so many shitty Terminator movies, I start to like the other ones that aren't so shitty a little bit better. Like, T3 is not terrible. Dark Fate wasn't terrible. But there are some really bad Terminator movies. It peaked with T2, obviously. So anyway, Terminator 3, we get a little bit of love there. I guess that's it, guys. This is my list again. Comment down below. Let me know your list. Subscribe so you don't miss any more of the videos coming up. Again, I have an idea of who the next one's going to be. I'll give you a hint. It's a big rival of Arnold. So, but let me know who you think deserves to be in the top 4. We're going to do 4 only. So that's it. We got 1 out of the way. Give me 3 more. Comment. Let me know who you think. Thank you all very much. And I'll see you soon.